When you hear the words Ottoman Empire, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's a sense of immense power, incredible longevity, and a history that stretches across continents. For over 600 years, it was one of the most significant powers on Earth. So, how did it happen? How did it rise? What did its peak look like? And what finally brought it all crashing down? Let's get into it. Yeah, 623 years. Just let that number sink in for a moment. That is an incredibly long time for any single political entity to exist. This wasn't just a flash in the pan. It was an empire that endured for centuries. And understanding that sheer staying power is key to its whole story. So that's really the big question we're tackling, isn't it? How does a small state born in what's now Turkey grow into one of the most powerful and long-lasting empires in history? We're going to look at the key moments and the brilliant innovations that made it all possible. All right, so let's rewind all the way back to the beginning. Every great story has an origin, and for the Ottomans, it all starts around the year 1299 with one man, a leader named Osman I. From this tiny principality, he planted the seeds of something that would grow beyond anyone's imagination. So what was Osman's secret sauce? Well, a huge part of it was just being in the right place at the right time. He was surrounded by powers that were falling apart. The Seljuk dynasty was crumbling, and the legendary Byzantine Empire was really just a shadow of its former self. There was a power vacuum, and Osman was more than ready to fill it. Okay, so you've got the opportunity, but that's not enough, right? You need some serious muscle to back it up. To make that leap from just another regional player to a true empire, the Ottomans developed something completely new, something that would become one of their most fearsome tools of conquest. And that game changer was this, the Janissaries. Now, we're not just talking about another group of soldiers here. This was different. You could honestly argue that this was Europe's first modern professional standing army, a permanent force of trained soldiers loyal to one person and one person only, the Sultan. So what made these guys so incredibly effective? Well, it all came down to how they were created. They were technically slaves of the Sultan with no other loyalties. They couldn't even marry. Their entire world was the army and the throne. That kind of singular focus, it creates a disciplined, loyal, and absolutely terrifying fighting force. But, it wasn't all a smooth upward climb. The empire almost completely fell apart early on. After a sultan was captured in battle, his sons just ripped the empire to shreds, fighting each other in a brutal civil war. For a moment, it really looked like it was all over. But one of them, Mehmed I, managed to stitch it all back together, and in doing so, he set the stage for the empire's single greatest achievement. And this is it, the big one, the moment that changed world history. In 1453, a 21-year-old sultan, Mehmed II, did what no one before him could. He brought these massive, terrifying cannons. We're talking about the super weapons of the 15th century. And he literally shattered the unbreakable walls of Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire. And this is where it gets really fascinating. For Mehmed, this wasn't just about conquering another city. It was a statement. He immediately makes it his new capital and starts calling himself Caesar of the Roman Empire. He was basically telling the world, we're not just some new guys on the block. We are the new Rome. That incredible conquest kicked off what we now call the Ottoman Golden Age, and the empire would hit its absolute peak, its zenith, under its 10th and longest reigning ruler, a man known to the West as Suleiman the Magnificent. Just listen to this quote. It's what he supposedly said when he found the body of his defeated rival, the King of Hungary. It gives you a real glimpse into his character. A fearsome conqueror for sure, but also complex, reflective. This is the leader of an empire at the absolute height of its power and confidence. And here's the thing you really have to understand about Suleiman. In Europe, he was the Magnificent because of his armies and his wealth. But at home, to his own people, he was the lawgiver. Why? Because he totally reformed the legal system, he championed art and architecture, and he protected minorities. He was a builder just as much as he was a conqueror. But as we all know, golden ages don't last forever. After Suleiman's death, the empire entered a long, slow period of decline. It took centuries, but eventually it earned a pretty unflattering nickname, the sick man of Europe, as it struggled with decay from the inside and massive pressure from the outside. So, what went wrong? A lot of it was rot from within. You had a series of less capable sultans, which weakened the central government. And those Janissaries, the guys who used to be the bedrock of the empire, They turned into a corrupt political force, basically making and breaking sultans. The whole system was starting to crack. And all that internal chaos, it started to show up on the battlefield. Big time. The defeat at the gates of Vienna in 1683, that was a massive turning point. It basically marked the high watermark of Ottoman expansion into Europe. After that, it was a long, painful retreat, as rising powers like Austria and Russia started to push back. The rivalry with Russia, in particular, was absolutely devastating. As you can see here, it was just war after war after war, and almost every time, the Ottomans lost, losing crucial territory, influence, and prestige. Russia just kept chipping away at them, piece by piece. Okay, so fast forward to the early 1900s. That long, slow decline we've been talking about, it's about to hit hyperdrive. What follows is a rapid, unstoppable collapse, a perfect storm of crises all hitting at the exact same time. It really was like a series of dominoes falling, one after another. First, a revolution at home throws everything into chaos. Then they get absolutely crushed in the Balkan Wars and lose almost all of their remaining land in Europe. And the final nail in the coffin, making the catastrophic decision to join Germany in World War I. And you'd think losing the war would be the end of it, but no. The humiliation just kept coming. The armistice that ended the war allowed the victorious allies to literally walk in, occupy the capital city, and start carving up the empire's heartland for themselves. The sick man was officially on the operating table. But from those ashes, something new was forged. A Turkish general named Mustafa Kemal Ataturk refused to accept this fate. He rallied his people, fought a grueling war for independence, and successfully kicked out the occupying forces. In 1922, he did the unthinkable. He officially abolished the Sultanate. The empire was dead, and in its place, in 1923, rose the new Republic of Turkey. So after this incredible 600-year journey, what are we left with? How do you even begin to sum up an empire this complex? It was a center of breathtaking cultural brilliance and, at the same time, a sick man in decline. It was a brutal conqueror and a refuge for those fleeing persecution. It's this complicated, often contradictory legacy that makes the Ottoman Empire so endlessly fascinating.